there's a few seats at the front if you want to. Don't be shy. Come to the front. Okay. Look, thank you for joining us today. Again, thumbs up. Everyone can hear crystal clear. Alex, do you want to give a test tonight? Yeah, amazing. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the climate tech nexus. So we know that the World Economic Forum reports that technology, including AI technology, has the ability to reduce carbon emissions by up to 20%. But on the flip side, we know that technology, including AI, are huge consumers of energy. So within this fireside chat with Alex, we're going to be unpacking the climate tech nexus and looking at both within the UAE and globally what measures organisations are taking to decarbonise assets infrastructure. We're also then going to be talking about how AI solutions and technology can be used for the betterment of advancing and addressing climate and environmental issues. Lastly, we're going to touch on the importance of collaboration on this journey. But first and foremost, I'd like to welcome Alex to this fireside chat. So, Alex, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Yes, Amy, it's a great pleasure to be here. And can you hear me well? My name is Alexis. I'm board director of Tenet. Tenet, sorry for the Walt Disney animation part, and Tenet is a company in which we, in a comprehensive way, we address all the different aspects of sustainability, energy, ESG, and the data centers. So today, I am here with Amy discussing about the challenges and pretty much what is coming and what are the critical points for us in the AI and data center part.
Amazing, thank you. And I'm Amy Lehockzy. I sit within the G42 family corporate team, and I'm the Director of Environmental and Social Governance. So first of all, Alex, it'd be really great, and we do apologise about the competition with the airspace, hopefully you can still hear us. It'd be really great to hear from you trends globally that we see happening for assets, corporations to decarbonise their operations.
Perfect. We're seeing a new trend that most of the existing data centers, the new ones, they require a complete new and very imaginative approach. We are seeing companies like Microsoft starting for the first time to deploy submarine data centers underwater. We are seeing a lot of companies in Nordic countries that they want to leverage on the benefits of the environment, using cooling elements as snow, or they want to use deep water reservoirs close to glaciers or fjords, like the case of Norway. We are seeing the trend in geothermal close to volcanoes. Google and Microsoft, they are working on that. We also are seeing that the ideal solution is coming under floating islands, where you can integrate wind, solar, CSP, concentrated solar power, batteries, and data centers, and they are floating pretty much in rivers, ocean, or lakes. So you benefit from the cooling aspect of the water, and also you can add a fifth renewable energy source, that is the tidal one. So like things like this, including new wind turbines that you can place data centers inside the turbine, give us an approach on how much options do we have in a very unique ways to address data centers, energy, the power that they need, and where to co-locate them.
Amazing. So, and I think so, it's such a complex, challenging discussion, but I think learning from the best and brightest around the world in terms of how we can decarbonise our assets is important. Within G42, we're a very large family. We've got a very, very extensive value chain, so customers, our operations, suppliers, and within this decarbonisation journey, what we're doing is mapping out that inventory. So in order for us to understand where we need to prioritise our efforts, identifying hotspots of where we need to focus our decarbonisation efforts, we need to develop our inventory. And that's something from a strategic perspective. We've deployed resources and utilising digital solutions to help us on this journey. In terms of individual examples, later today we've got another panel discussion at 2 o'clock where we'll be delving into data centres and highlighting that we've got our first green data centre within the Casner family. So we looked at both the demand and the supply side of the discussion. So making sure we optimise the design of our asset, in this case the data centre, and from a supply side, make sure that we are tapping into renewables, in this case tapping into 7 megawatts of solar. Looking at our international expansion piece, when we start looking and exploring new locations in regions, it's really important to look at, okay, what are the site and country constraints and opportunities? So within Kenya, we know that 47% of the energy within the country is currently provided by geothermal. So this indeed gave us an opportunity when developing data centres in the future in this country, we'll be able to tap into these geothermal. Okay, so now we've just spoken about one side of the discussion, which is decarbonisation. What I'd like to move into now, something I'm quite passionate about, is looking at how we can deploy technology, including AI solutions, to address the climate crisis and the environmental crisis. So Alex, it'd be great to understand from you, in terms of digital solutions, what are you seeing in the market in terms of what's working and what's not working?
Thank you, Amy. And we are seeing the trend about digital twins and smart grids. The digital twins, ideally, what they want to do is a preview of what will be happening during the next years, in which you can assess energy consumption, water consumption, behavior, pretty much all the different aspects of the building and of the data center. So that will help you before you go into the full construction and allocation and choosing of equipment to see the behavior. So you will have a very good understanding. On the smart grid aspect, this is quite critical because you need to have different data points in which you create a very smart ecosystem. And I will give you a concrete example. Data centers will act as a small utilities. What you will be seeing is that the training efforts that they need to do, they require a lot of consumption. And currently in a lot of places, when those consumptions and training take place, will not be leaving a lot of energy available for households, companies, or all different uses. So we are seeing a very good communication between utilities and data centers. So eventually on peak times, 8 in the morning or 5 in the morning, normally data centers will stop doing all the training. They will start just doing cloud or very minimum utilization of energy and will free up big part of the grid to be utilized by the community. So we are seeing that smart elements will allow this sort of demand-response relationship. And we are seeing that not only collaboration, proper data and analysis of that data will allow to optimize all of the resources in this ecosystem.
Yeah.
And Amy, what about G42 and your company? How are you looking at this new space and new dynamics into the smart and the tech and the climate?
So on the digital twin, we're really excited about that. We're going through a process at the moment, as I mentioned, in terms of gathering our inventory and looking at hotspots. And the more we can automate that, the more efficient it's going to be. Now, looking at the climate side of the discussion, we can see every day in the news there's new major weather events. Currently, actually, Florida is experiencing hurricanes. Back home in my hometown in Canberra, in Australia, we've got increasing fire events every single year. We know, unfortunately, these events are only going to increase in severity and intensity moving forward. Now, within G42 family, we've proudly partnered with NVIDIA utilising Earth 2 platform. So what does this enable us to do? It enables us to have greater understanding over existing weather conditions and, importantly, looking into the future, how these weather conditions are going to change over time. So we can proactively identify what type of acute and chronic weather events are going to happen, both now and in the short, medium and long term. by having this information, it's allowing us to adapt and importantly mitigate the impacts of these major weather events. So what does that allow us to do? It allows us to proactively put in place mitigation measures for the community so as to minimise impacts, particularly on those groups that are most vulnerable, which we unfortunately know that climate change is hitting those community groups that are most at risk and vulnerable. And I think now it's really important also to highlight in the ocean space. So when talking about climate, oceans are really important because they are the largest carbon sinks in the world. So within the G42 family and our environmental genomics program, over the last couple of years, we've formed a partnership with a research entity called OceanX. So with OceanX, the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi, M42 and Bayanat, we've done an extensive exercise of collecting large amounts of environmental data. Coupling this with AI predictive modelling, we're able to assess how our natural systems are changing over time. Now this is really important when we talk about impacts on not only the environment but society. By seeing new, for example, new weather events, increased rainfall and temperature in new locations, we can also see potentially new diseases popping up, such as, for example, malaria. Again, by being able to see into the future and seeing this, predict what's going to change, we're again able to adapt and proactively put in place mitigation measures, again to minimise impacts on society. But Alex, it would be really great to understand from you, in terms of the discussion of sustainability, the discussion of climate, it's so complex and there's no one fixed solution. So what type of partnerships and collaboration efforts have you seen between the private sector, public sector, research entities and academia?
Amy, thank you. Great question. I will talk about an example. I was involved a couple of years back. It was the first interconnection between Malaysia and Singapore. This required a collaboration from all the entities. Singapore is very limited. They don't have resources or renewables resources. So they need to tap into their neighbors, Indonesia and Malaysia. So what we have seen, it has been a government discussion, a private discussion, in which we did a partnership with Keppel being one of the largest companies in Singapore. The idea was to try for the first time the capacity for Malaysia to inject power in Singapore, allowing power to host a lot of data centers, because most of the data centers, the green supply chain is completely mandatory, and Singapore was not able to address that. So even though Singapore created a lot of know-how centers to solve these situations, they needed the help from other countries and other companies. So what happened in the end was, in Malaysia, we were deploying solar, and we were trying the interconnection to see if that was enough for Singapore to start powering the data centers. So this shows how, when you integrate governments, institutions, educational institutions, and research centers, and private corporations, you can find solutions that seem to be very difficult. And besides that, probably a quick example, in Kuwait in 2009, I was also involved in what is considered to be the first project of CSP solar and wind in the country. What we did is we meet GISER, the Institute of Research, where we put all the stakeholders together, and among all of us, we make different decisions to enable wind, solar, and CSP to be deployed for the first time in Kuwait. And the only possible way that we reach success is that when all the different stakeholders, they come together, there is clear communication, and you understand pretty much the needs of all of them. And I think that having that holistic approach is a great recipe for success in relationships and private-public partnerships.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I was honoured to be on a panel discussion last night with a professor from Mohammed bin Zayed University for Artificial Intelligence. And he was part of the team who worked with the G42 family to create JICE. So I'm sure some of you would have heard this, but in terms of our efforts to democratise AI, JICE is a large language model in Arabic. It was trained in the Arabic language, enabling over 400 million people access to utilise the solution. So again, it sort of shows how a collaboration between a corporate entity and a leading research entity can work together to form solutions that address societal challenges. I'd like to sort of, in terms of, I know we're sort of heading towards the tail end. I don't know if anyone has any questions before we start. Any questions that's bringing up? Amazing. So Alexis, in terms of what do we have to look forward to in the future? What do you see as optimistic things we can look forward to address the challenges that are affecting society when it comes to the climate tech space?
Well, I think one of the critical things is to demystify AI and translate AI in that AI is actually an intelligent concept. And pretty much we want to make our system and pretty much all of the different products and systems that we have intelligent. And the fact that you make them intelligent, it helps us to achieve and to grow. So we are seeing that, as we discussed, in smart grids and digital twins. AI can help us to visualize and articulate all the steps that they need to be necessary. We are seeing a lot of trend in renewables that we want to identify which ones will be the best fit. We are hearing lately a lot of discussions about nuclear. For example, nuclear is coming mainstream again because of the profound needs of electricity, but nuclear is still, the timeline is not as some of the renewables, but definitely will be joining. Geothermal is becoming also as a very good option. So we are seeing, as we discussed before, floating elements tapping into water. Water is a very great solution because we are running out of space. Keep in mind that data centers, they need to be close to you, to either your company or your house. So the only possible way that you can achieve that nowadays is if you have infrastructure close to the seashores on floating areas. That will reduce latency and will be able to provide the services. So I'm very optimistic. I think that we want to bring everybody in this journey. This journey will be consistent in two elements. Sustainability and renewables will be part of our lives in pretty much everything what we do and everything that we buy. So it will be part of most of the decision-making process that is not yet, but is going in that direction. And AI will end up being with us as a partner for not only simple decisions, more complex ones.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm an optimist at heart, and I do feel like by us recognising that we are part of the cause, we could also be part of the solution. So in terms of looking into the future, I'm excited about the opportunities to decarbonise our assets in infrastructure so as to minimise impacts on our planet. And I'm also excited about deploying further solutions, particularly in the climate tech space. So we spoke earlier about the NVIDIA Earth 2 platform and how this has the capability to again predict major weather events. Now this is critical in the climate discussion because ultimately by being able to predict these events, we can again minimise impacts on vulnerable communities. We can minimise impacts not only on society but also the environment. There's also an exciting announcement for this, there's going to be the creation of a research hub. So this research hub will do more than just looking at weather predictability, it's also looking at other climatic challenges that we're facing.
Brilliant, Amy, I want to tell you something about G42, what we see from the outside. I think one of the great things about G42 that resonates with me is that you are making partnership with Microsoft, with NVIDIA, with IBM. I mean, what you are showing is paving the way that this is not with only one, it's just very collaborative approach, and even companies that they seem to compete among each other, you need to start amplifying that and working all together. And at the same time, I think that how you manage the balance also with the government of UAE and how you are showing them what is possible and what you are capable of, I think that is showing that for the governments it's a great sign and it's a great bet. So we want more governments and authorities, creating this symbiosis relationship in a company like G42, in which that both can learn together, and we all benefit from these sort of examples.
From collaboration, yeah, absolutely. Were there any questions from the audience at all? No? Okay, I think we're coming up to that half an hour mark. So thank you so much everybody for joining us. It's been a pleasure meeting with you all today. Apologies at the beginning for the